exile of the Jewish people and their return to the Jerusalem after the Babylonian captivity. Number 4, we will discuss the diaspora and the development of rabbinic Judaism. Number 5, we will study how the Islam impacted the Judaism during the medieval era. Number 6, we will discuss the Judaism after the 15th century and why many Jews became refugees. Number 7, we will study the Jewish response to the modernity. Number 8, we will discuss the modern divisions and religious practices in Judaism. Number 9, we will identify and explain the significance of Jewish festivals and Jewish holidays. Number 10, we will discuss a lot of issues that is faced by the modern Jews and modern Judaism as a whole. Okay, location and geography. Ancient Israel was located between the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Israel has water access to the two major oceans, Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea. This water access allows the Israel to develop easy shipping lines and trade with Europe, North and South America, Asia, and Africa. Israel stands at the crossroad of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Today, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, shown in the map, right map, belongs to the territory of Palestine. Okay, historical overview. The ancient Israel is the birthplace of the three great monotheistic religions of the world. There is Judaism, Christianity, and Israel. The ancient Israel dates back about 4,000 years to the book of the Old Testament. was a great patriarch of Judaism. The great patriarchs were Abraham, Jacob, Moses, Joshua, were the great patriarch of Judaism. Hebrews, Israelite, Jews, Semite have all undergone persecutions throughout the history, from Babylonian capacity, Exodus, diaspora, Spanish Inquisition, and Holocaust are the persecutions throughout the Israel history. Founder and the origin of the Judaism. Introduction. Judaism began before the history in East Mediterranean was ever written 4,000 years ago. Judaism was founded by Abraham around 1750 before Common Era. Although Abraham is seen as the founder of the Judaism, his grandson Jacob's name was changed to the Israel Raider. Okay? Abraham's grandson Jacob was the father of 12 children. These 12 children became known as the children of Israel or Israelite. Much later, they came to be known as Jewish people. Therefore, Jacob was the great grandfather of each Jew and every Jew. Great grandfather of each Jew and every Jew was Abraham's son Jacob. Okay, this slide shows the Abraham's family tree lineage. Abraham's lineage. Jacob's 12 sons. Became the head of 12 tribe leader. Okay? Okay, Judaism was founded in 13th century before Common Era. Founder of Judaism. It was Moses. Moses emancipated the Jews from slavery. Moses set free the Jews from slavery in Egypt. And later, Moses established the covenant between his people and the Yahweh on the mountain Sinai. Traditionally, it is held that Abraham and his descendant established the Judaism before Moses. Okay? Abraham established Judaism before Moses. However, the 10 commandments are now considered by many Jews to be the foundation upon which the Judaism rests. The roots of the Judaism dated back about 4,000 years to the books of Old Testament. Old Testament was the origins of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Old Testament was the origin of Islam, origin of Christianity. Palestine was the place of Judaism. Palestine, sometimes called Canaan, now Israel. Sacred books of Judaism are Old Testament. Old Testament consists of 5 books of law, historical books, prophet, and other writings. Among these, most sacred are the 5 books of law. That 5 books of law is called as a Torah. Symbols of Judaism. Star of David. The right picture represented the Star of David. And menorah. Menorah is a candle holder. 7 candle holder. Okay? I will tell you the various type of symbols of Judaism in the subsequent slide. Adherents of Judaism, believers of Judaism, are smallest major world religions. Judaism make up only 0.2% human races. Development of the Judaism. Each tribe leaders are the judges. There are 3 kings: King Saul, David, King Solomon. Solomon built the temples. Division. Northern 10 tribes is referred as the Israel kingdom. Southern 2 tribes is referred of the Judah kingdom. Prophetic tradition was the word of God that is spoken through the prophet of God and keep the covenant with God, Yahweh. Exile in Babylon. The temple of Solomon destroyed. After the destruction of the temple, they create synagogues and rabbis and concept of Messiah were emerged. Diaspora means a dispersion of Jews outside of Israel and outside of Hellenizations. McGibbon revolt, Maccabean revolt, Maccabee works of priest family members. Maccabee is a leader of revolt. This Maccabean rededicated the temple, restored the temple to the God. Expansion of Roman Empire and the expansion of Roman rule. Roman Empire destroyed the temple, leaving only the Western world, Wailing world. After that, the Rabbinic Judaism was emerged. Okay. Maccabean revolt against the Persian Empire. Maccabee was a priestly Jewish family. Maccabees were Jewish leader of revolt against the Persian Seleucid Empire's operations. Maccabeans were a group of Jewish level warriors. Later, they took control of Judea, which was a part of the Seleucid Empire. Judea, territory of Judea belongs to the Seleucid Empire, Persian Seleucid Empire. However, Maccabean seized this territory and controlled this territory. This territory, this kingdom referred as Judea. Maccabean founded Hasmonean dynasty, and Maccabean ruled this Judea territory from 167 before Common Era to 37 before Common Era. This Maccabean dynasty were being a fully independent kingdom from about 110 before Common Era to 63 before Common Era. They asserted the Jewish religions partly by forced conversion. They expanded, Maccabean expanded boundaries of Judea by the conquest and Maccabean reduced influence of Hellenism and reduced the influence of Hellenistic Judaism right map shows the territory of Judea under Judah Maccabees. Green area belongs to the territory of Judea. Maccabean control this area. Okay, this slide shows the ancient Israel. Ancient Israel, the birthplace of Judaism, is also the birthplace to Islam and birthplace to Christianity. Right map. Dark yellow area represents the northern kingdom. Green area belongs to the southern kingdom, Judea. Okay, this map shows the Old Testament peoples around the ancient Israel. There are a lot of strong empires such as Chaldean Empire, Persian Empire, Babylonian Empire, Assyrian Empire. Phoenician, okay, Hittite Empire. Bottom map shows the Sodom and Gomorrah city. Sodom and Gomorrah city located east side of the Dead Sea and east and south of the Dead Sea. Yahweh destroyed these cities, two cities. Okay? I will tell you this story in subsequent slide. Who is a Jew? Traditionally, a Jew is anyone whose mother is a Jew. You can also be a Jew by the conversion to the Judaism. A conversion ceremony is really just an adoption into the family of Abraham and family of Sarah. The ancient Israelite was passed on by the mother instead of the father because people are always sure who the mother is. People know his or her mother 100%. Therefore, if a mother is a Jew, I'm also a Jew. A kind of monarchy, kind of the matriarchy. slide show the tracing route of Israel's history from Ur to the Canaan. Ancient Israelites were the nomadic tribes. Nomadic tribes wandering into the Palestine from east in about 1900 before Common Era. At that time, Mesopotamian society was dominated by polytheism, many gods, polytheism, many gods. Monotheism is one God. The God Yahweh appeared before the patriarchy Abraham, and Yahweh told Abraham to go and raise a great nation. This began monotheistic tradition of Hebrew faith with the establishment of the covenant, establishment of the chosen people and promised land. Abraham settled in the Canaan. Okay? Abraham, the father of Jewish people. Abraham was the first person who entered into the covenant or entered into the contract with God, Yahweh. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son Isaac with Sarah if God told him to sacrifice. He was willing to sacrifice according to the God's commandment. But it turned out that the God did not want Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, but send the lamb instead. Send the lamb instead of his son. The respect for God's wish sealed the covenant. Abraham was the first patriarch, which means male power figure. However, matriarch means the female power figure. The mom and pa, the word pa and mom came from this word, patriarchy and matriarchy. Okay? Abraham is known to the founder of Judaism, and he founded religion in Israel about 4,000 years ago. Abraham is considered the father of Jewish people. A Jew see Abraham as a symbol of trusting and symbol of obeying the God. Abraham is also important to the followers of the Christianity and the followers of the Islam. Abraham is the most important to the Christianity, to the Islam, to the Jew. This map shows the patriarch to the Judaism. That God told Abraham to go to the Haran and then Canaan and make of him a great nation. This began monotheistic traditions. Abraham entered into the contract with God, covenant with God. The left side of the map shows the story of the sacrifice of Abraham. This map shows the Abraham's journey from Ur of the Chaldean to the Canaan, the promised land. They are nomadic persons, nomadic peoples. Okay. This map shows the Abraham's 4 stages journey. Abraham's journey of 4 stages according to the Genesis, to the Old Bible. The Old Bible says that there are 4 stages. Stage 1, Abraham's journey from Ur to the Haran. Genesis chapter 11-31 says that they went out together from Ur of the Chaldean to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to the Haran, they settled there. That is the stage 1 according to the Genesis chapter 11. Stage 2, Haran to Canaan. Genesis chapter 12-1 says that, "Knew now Yahweh said to Abram, go from the land of your birth and your kin, your family, and your father's house to the land that I will show you." These sentences were included in the Genesis chapter 12. That's 1. Stage 3. Abraham's journey from Canaan to the Egypt. Genesis chapter 12. That's 10. Provided that now there was a famine and drought in this land. So Abraham went down in order to reside there, Egypt, as an alien. That is a stage 3 of the Genesis. Stage 4. Abraham's journey from Egypt to the Negev desert. Genesis chapter 13, that's 1, provided that so Abraham went up from Egypt, he and his wife Sarah, with his cousin Lot, and all that he had, go into the Negev. After that, his cousin Lot settled in the Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? Stage 4. The goal of stage 4 are the Negev. What is the Negev area? This map shows the Negev desert area. Negev area is the goal of the stage 4 of the Abraham's journey. Negev desert is a very, very arid region, dry regions. And Negev occupied almost half of Palestine, west of Jordan River. And this Negev desert currently occupies about 60% of Israel territory. Israel territory, 60% of total Israel area are the Negev desert, Negev area. What is inner name? Hebrew means the promised cross. This name of Hebrew was given to the Abraham and his followers. What is the Israelite? Abraham's grandson Jacob, name changed to Israel, which means Israel means the he who fight with the God, who has wrestled with the God. His descendant were called, Jacob's descendant were called as an Israelite. What is a Jew? Jews is named after the Jacob's son, Judah. Judah, one of the Jacob's son, Judah, was the ancient father of the tribe of King David's dynasty. David's great-great-great-grandfather was Judah. Judah was the son of the Jacob. Okay, and Jacob, grandson of Abraham. Abraham's grandson Jacob took the name Israel, which means that God ruled and had 12 sons, which later these 12 sons became the 12 tribes of the Israel. Due to the drought and due to the famine, Jacob and his son migrate to the Egypt, where their descendants were subject to the slavery under the Egyptian king Pharaoh's rule. Right side shows the boundaries of 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? Among the 12 tribes, the most populous and influential tribes are one of the most populous and influential tribes are the Judah. Ancient Israel religions, the God called upon Abraham and his family. God promised Abraham that he would become the father of the great nation, and Abraham possessed land and become a blessing to all the people if Abraham, he was faithful to his part of the covenant with the God. That is the condition to be a father of great nation. Abraham was succeeded in the covenant by his son Isaac, his grandson Jacob, and Jacob's 12 sons. These men are patriarchy. The religious practices of the patriarchy include the worshipping only one God through animal sacrifices instead of man's sacrifice. Okay? The worship was conducted without the temple and without the church. At the time where the ancient Israelite worship, they worship in the tent of meeting. That tent of meeting was referred as the tabernacle. I will show you the tent of the mother of tent of meeting in subsequent slide. From early on, circumcision of baby males were practiced as a symbol of Jews. Not circumcision of male were treated as a Gentile and regarded as an enemy to the Jews. Exodus is one of the most important events in Judaism. In Egypt, the Jews were enslaved. Their exodus from Egypt journey to the Canaan promised land and conquest of the land had to be accomplished before the gods promise to Abraham could be fulfilled. Sinai and the law. Israelites came to Mount Sinai during their journey to the Canaan promised land. Moses received 10 commandments on this Mount Sinai. They stressed loyalty to the Yahweh. They stressed the obedience to Yahweh and decent behavior toward the members of the Jewish community. Okay, I will show you the mountain Sinai, the location of mountain Sinai, and I'll show you the real picture of the Mount Sinai. The story of Moses. Prince of Egypt. Moses, as a prince of Egypt, became to the shepherd of his people. When Moses was born, Israelites were slaves of Egypt. One day, Moses saw a slave master beating a Hebrew, and Moses struck the slave master, Egyptian slave master, struck the Egyptian slave master in anger. Moses knew that the punishment was death. So Moses fled into the forest. There he saw a bush that was burned by fire, but that burning fire not destroyed. Is a miracle. When he took a close look, the God spoke to him. The God told Moses to go back to the Egypt and rid his people out of slavery. Moses went back to the Egypt to tell the Pharaoh, but Pharaoh ignored the Moses. In anger, the God punished Egypt by sending 10 plagues, turning drinking water into the blood. God turned the drinking water into the blood, and God sent the 3 days of darkness. And finally, God killed all newborns of Egyptians. Pharaoh's sons was also killed that night and the next day. Therefore, Pharaoh called Moses and told him to take his people and his cattle and to leave Egypt. Moses led them into the desert for 40 years, when they arrived at the mountain Sinai. The God spoke to Israelites and gave them the 10 Commandments. Moses is regarded as the most important prophet in Judaism. Moses acted according to the request of the God and freed the Jews from brutality and slavery they were experiencing under the Egyptian Pharaoh of Egypt. Moses was also the God's chosen one people to receive the 10 Commandments, which were given to him in the form of the stone tablet. The 10 Commandments still hold the importance in the world. This map shows the Moses and Exodus, route of Exodus. Moses told the Pharaoh, "Let my people go and leave Egypt." At the Mount of Sinai, Moses received revelations from the God. Revelation includes the burning bush, the staff, temple, parting of the Red Sea. What does it mean? When God appears to Moses in the burning bush, the God asked, what? God asked what Moses has in his hand. And Moses answered, "Oh, God is my staff." Staff is a rod. This staff, Moses' staff, was miraculously transformed into the snake and then back into the staff, back into the rod. That is a miracle. And at the end of the 13th century before Common Era, Moses led the Israelites out of bondage in Egypt during the Pharaoh Lamer's second reign. That is called as Exodus. Moses led 12 tribes of Israel to the Mount Sinai, where at the Mount of Sinai, Yahweh gave him the 10 Commandments. These 10 Commandments united Hebrews under one God, Yahweh. Moses and Hebrews searched for the promised land of the land of milk, or the land of honey or land of milk. However, they wandered in the desert for 40 years. The left side the picture shows that the Moses told his people, I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is there is only 10 of them. The bad news is we can't change the name to these 10 suggestions. Okay, this picture shows the mountain Sinai. That mountain Sinai is located in the Egypt. The Orthodox Christian built the Catholic monastery at this side. This picture shows the Saint Catherine monastery at the foot of the mountain Sinai in Egypt. There are a lot of sacred scriptures in this Catholic monastery. Ancient Israeli religions forced Sinai religious institutions. The years in Sinai wilderness gave the Jews two other religious institutions. Religious institutions are the Ark of the Covenant and the Tent of Meeting, Tabernacle. The Ark of the Covenant was contained. The Ark of Covenant contained the sacred relics of Exodus. A lot of sacred relics of Exodus were in this Ark of Covenant. But this Ark of the Covenant will disappear after the destruction of the Solomon's temple by the Babylonian attack. Nobody knows where is the Ark of the Covenant. Ark of Covenant was stored, burned. Nobody knows where is the original Ark of the Covenant. Second, religious institutions are the tent of meeting or tent of blessing. This tent of meeting was referred as a tabernacle. This tent of meeting provide the place of worship and provide the place to study the religions, to study the Judaism. I'll show you the model of these tent of meeting tabernacles. When the Israelites settled in the Canaan promised land, they renewed their covenant with Yahweh. The worship was informal. After the forced Sinai, before the Solomon's temple. Okay? The cultic priest came on the special days to this sanctuary for the special needs. Joshua and conquest of Canaan. After the wandering in wilderness for 40 years is Joshua. Joshua is a Moses' successor. Joshua led the Israelites on a conquest of land of the Canaan. The Joshua chapter 6 provided that, and they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, ox and sheep, and ass, with the edge of the sword. Joshua chapter 10 provided that, so Joshua smote, destructed all of the country of the hills, and of the south, and of the bay, and the springs, and all their kings. Joshua left none remaining, but utterly destroyed all that breathed, as the Lord, the God of Israel, commanded. And Joshua smote them, destructed them from Kadesh, Barnea, even unto Gaza area, and all of the country of the Gozan area, even unto the Gibeon area. Joshua destroyed all of this area and conquered the Canaan, promised land. Joshua is a second leader after the Moses. Hebrew monarchy and the temple. Solomon, the David's successor, built the Jerusalem temple. The Ark of the Covenant was placed in this temple. The worship of God Yahweh took on a former status, more former status. Before the Solomon's temple, worship was informal. However, after the temple, worship was more formal. The prophetic movement, the prophet arose during this period. They danced, sang, breathed incense, and walked themselves into the ecstatic state in order to hear the voice of their God. Their important role was to point out the infractions of the law and to plead for the return to the justice. This slide shows the kings of Israel, kingdom of Israel. In 1230 before Common Era, the Israelite Joshua guided the Israelite, and Joshua invaded the Canaan, the promised land. In 1010 before Common Era, the first king of the Israelite was Saul, then David, and Solomon. Under the King David, the Israelites captured the city of the Jerusalem. King Solomon built the temple of the the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of Covenant is a sacred box in order to hold the Torah. Referred as 5 Old Testament. I will tell you in subsequent slide. This Solomon's temple was destroyed during the Babylonian invasion. And this first Solomon's temple was rebuilt in the 6th century. In the 6th century, before Common Era, however, destroyed again in the 17th Common Era by Roman Empire. This second Solomon's temple was remaining only part of the Western world. Wailing world, another name, Wailing world. Solomon's temple. Solomon is the third king of united monarchy. Solomon has 13 sons. First son is Rehoboam later became the first king of the Judah kingdom. Solomon's wife is the daughter of Pharaoh, and he has 700 wives, 300 concubines. Solomon constructed in Jerusalem, constructed the temple on the Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah referred as a Temple Mount, same meaning. Mount Moriah or Temple Mount was the location of the sacrifice of Isaac. And Islam believed that Muhammad uprise to the heaven in this site. Okay? It took 7 years to build the temple, Solomon's temple. Solomon completed his constructions with the help of the architecture named Hiram and other materials. These other materials was sent from the king Hiram of Tyre, who is King Tyre. King Tyre is Phoenician, king of Phoenician monarchy. Solomon's temple was praised for the Ark of the Covenant, built in 960 before Common Era, first destroyed by Babylonians in 586 before Common Era, and rebuilt, second built on 516 before Common Era, and again destroyed in 70 Common Era by Romans. Solomon's sacrificed 22,000 oxen and sacrificed 12,000 sheep in this temple to the Yahweh. Okay, this map shows the mother of Solomon's first temple. Mother of first temple. This temple was destroyed by the Babylonian. Okay, this map shows the mother of second temple in Jerusalem. Construction of this second temple began around 535 before Common Era, about 50 years after the first temple. Okay, this second temple was destroyed by the Roman Empire. This second temple was regarded as one house of the God. However, the second temple was destroyed in 70 Common Era by Roman Empire. Okay, this map shows Jerusalem in the time of Jesus around 30 Common Era. According to the John chapter 5, 1-2, John chapter 5, 1-2 provided that, says that the Jesus Christ visit this temple through the sheep gate. Arrow line represented the sheep gate. At the second temple, okay, and Golgotha was the site of Jesus' crucifixions, okay, is near the temple, okay. Okay, this map shows the current Temple Mount. Golgotha's site is adjacent to this Temple Mount. Golgotha's site is the site of the Jesus crucifixion. Okay, Western Wall. The Western Wall is located in the midst, in the old city, in Jerusalem. This Western Wall is the section of the western supporting wall of the Temple Mount, which has remained intact since the destructions of the second Jerusalem Temple, the 70 Common Era. Okay? Western Wall became a center of the mourning over the destruction of the temple and the Israel's exile. This Western Wall is the communion with the memory of Israel's former glory and hope for its restorations. It became known in European language as a wailing war. Okay, exile and return after the reign of Solomon, a rebellion split the nation of Israel into the two kingdoms. During the Babylonian captivity, a certain theological change was forced on the Jews. The temple was destroyed and the people were scattered to the strange lands. This is referred as Exodus. Okay? When Jews returned from Babylon, Ezra was a very important figure. Ezra is referred. Some people told that Ezra is the second Moses. Persian king Artaxerxes first returned Ezra from Babylon to the Jerusalem to build to the temple after the Babylonian captivity. The Persian king Artaxerxes allowed the Jews, to worship their God, Yahweh. However, request the religious texts from the Israelite. According to the Persian king Artaxerxes first, Ezra read scriptures to the citizens of the rebuilt Jerusalem. Ezra began the process of the canonizing books as the Word of God. After the destruction of the temple, after the disappearing the Ten Commandments, okay? The temple was rebuilt and Jewish life flourished. This map shows the kingdom of Judah and Israel after the Solomon's death, previously united 12 tribes split into two kingdoms. Northern kingdom is called as Israel. Northern 10 tribes established the kingdom, Israel kingdom. Southern 2 tribes established Judah kingdom. Israel was conquered by Assyrian in 722 before Common Era, and scattered people was known as the lost tribes of Israel. In 586 before Common Era, Babylonian eventually destroyed the south kingdom, southern kingdom, Judah, and Jerusalem. Babylonian destroyed Judah, Jerusalem, including the temple, and deported the Jewish people to the Babylon. This is called Babylonian captivity or Babylonian exile. After the Babylonian captivity, the synagogues and rabbis during the exile were immersed. These Jewish people was released by the Persians in 586 138 before Common Era and returned to the Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Okay, this map shows the divided kingdom. Jeroboam becomes the king of the 10 tribes in the northern kingdom and keep the name Israel. Rehoboam keeps 2 tribes in the southern kingdom and renames the kingdom Judah. Okay, this map shows the captivity of Israel and Judah. Blue line, blue area represent the Assyrians take 10 northern tribes into the captivity. Green arrow represent Babylonian take Judah, 2 tribes into captivity. Red arrow represent Assyrian take Gentiles to fear the Israel. What is Gentile? Non-Jewish. This referred as a Gentile. Babylonian captivity. For the Jewish people, the Babylonian captivity brought much sorrow and some hard feelings. The Psalm, section 137, provide these much sorrow and some hard feelings of the Jewish people during the Babylonian captivity. Please read Psalm section 137 in your home. Okay? We have a limited time. I want to save the time. Okay? During the Babylonian exile, Jewish people had to rethink their belief system. This rethinking read the emergence of synagogues and emergence of Levites. Diaspora and Rabbinic Judaism after the Assyrian destruction of Israel, the scattering of Jews to the foreign lands were called as a diaspora, a synagogue, because the Jews were now separated from each other and separate from the temple. A synagogue developed as a center for the prayer, and synagogue developed as the center for studying their religions. Mishnah and Talmud. What is the Mishnah? Mishnah is an oral law or oral commandment. Okay? Or oral commentary. Mishnah is a collection of legal commentary that became the cornerstone of the Jewish history. Mishnah explains the Jewish attempts to live God's law. mission also help to explain how Jews could follow the God's law correctly. Talmud include additional authority on the Mishnah and the Torah. This map shows the diaspora, means scattering of Jews after 37 Common Era, Roman Empire take over Palestine. Diaspora is a Greek word, means the dispersion, which refers to the Jewish population living outside of Israel. Return and diaspora. The Jewish exile were released by the Persian kings in 538 before Common Era and returned to the Jerusalem in order to rebuild the temple, Solomon temple. Okay, in 332 before Common Era, Jewish people impaired under Hellenization. Hellenization means the Greek culture fell under the colonization as Alexander the Great conquered Persia, conquered Egypt and India. In 165 before Common Era, the group of Jews called Maccabees rebelled against the Greek rule to control all the Jerusalem and rededicated, restored the temple to the God. That is referred as the Hanukkah. Hanukkah celebrates this. Maccabean revolt against the Greek rules. Hanukkah is a festival that celebrates the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem in 165 before Common Era. Hanukkah is a holiday, okay, for Jews. In 64 before Common Era, Jerusalem fell to Romans and Kingdom of Judah became one of the provinces of the Roman Empire. That provinces of Roman Empire is called as Judea. Judea. Judea is only the territory, only the province of the Roman Empire. No independent provinces, okay? Living there were called as Judea. And it is from this word that we get the word Jew. Judean, Judah, a different meaning, okay? In 66 Common Era, people of Judea revolted against the Roman Empire. This uprising was crushed, and the temple, Solomon's temple, was totally destroyed. Except the Western world, for the second time, in 70 Common Era, Jewish people were dispersed from the Judea, the diaspora, and spread throughout the Egypt, Europe, Mesopotamia. Despite the dispersion of Jewish people throughout Europe after the 70 Common Era, their culture and religious belief have been by far most influential of all the ancient culture of the Near East. What are the beliefs of Judaism? Judaism is one of the oldest religions still existing today. Judaism has a very formal set of belief that one must hold to be a Jew. only Jew can be a believer of Judaism. Okay? The Jews share the core of monotheism principles. Monotheism means the only believe in only one God. And that God is powerful and all-knowing. And that at the end, the God will send down a Messiah in order to redeem the Jews. The everyday belief for Jews is centered in their written scriptures. Basic belief. There is only one God who watches over and cares for his people. God loves and protects his people, but also hold people for their sins and shortcomings. People serve God by studying the Torah and living by its teaching. Core belief, Jewish people believe that Messiah has not yet come. Every human is created in God's own images. Torah is the most important textbook. They pray 3 times per day. They give to the charity. That charity is called as tzedakah. Okay? They last on the Sabbaths, 7 days. And they last on the Saturday, not Sunday. Basic concept, covenant, Solomon, and binding agreement between God and Abraham, and God as a creator and the chosen people. Chosen people, the Jews consider themselves to be the God's chosen people, as God chose Abraham and lead them to monotheism. Jews were instrument of God's will. God chose Jews, and humanity must choose God. Promised land was gained significant during the Moses' life, as Hebrews sought to keep the covenant and develop the community in the promised land. Jews believe this is Israel. Monotheistic. Only one creator. Oh, one God created the universe. Human obligated towards this God. God is immaterial and invisible and untouchable. God is referred as Yahweh or Yahweh, I am that I am. Yahweh means I am that I am. I existed, that I existed. Lineage, family, three people are born a Jew throughout the mother, not throughout the father. Or people can be converted into the Jew. That is referred as the Garot. Mitzvah. Mitzvah. What is the meaning of mitzvah? Mitzvah is a commandment or the oral order. Okay? A mitzvah is an act of performing a good deed or commandment. Bible contains total 613 mitzvah, commandments, some positive, some negative. Jesus, the views of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was born as a Jew, and the Jew viewed Jesus as a preacher and teacher. Jesus, they believe that Jesus is not a son of God, and Messiah is still to come. Suffering is hated because they are chosen people. Jews expect to suffer for all kinds of mankind. Death and after life. On death, the body returns to the earth. However, soul returns to God, who gave the soul. The body will be resurrected and reunited with the soul at a later time. Beliefs of the law. Mainstream, the Jewish view is that God reward the people, benefit the people who deserve His commandment, but punish the people who intentionally transgress the God. Once people learned the Torah properly, the people could then learn the higher truths. People can attain the closeness to the God even in this world through the moral perceptions and spiritual perceptions. As a matter of practices, the Orthodox Judaism raised stresses on the performances of the actual commandments. Jews, interesting beliefs and facts. They have 613 commandments from God, but 10 commandments are the most important. Moses is one of the prophets they believe in. Judaism doesn't accept the New Testament. Judaism doesn't accept the New Testament. They only accept the Old Testament. Jews believes that God made a covenant as a promise to the people that He will save once they believe in God, in Him. Okay? Torah refers to the five books of Moses, the Old Testament. They are 5 books of Moses are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. These are 5 books of Moses. All these 5 books of Moses were written before Jesus came. This Old Testament was written from about 1400 to the 80 before Common Era. Old Testament is an agreement that God made with the nation of Israel. Torah is a primary document of Judaism. Torah, which means the teaching. Torah is God's revealed instructions to the Jewish people. Word of God, Jewish holy book. Torah teaches Jews how to think, how to act, how to feel about life, how to feel about the death. Torah teaches this, okay? Torah contains 613 commandments. That 613 commandment was called as a mitzvah. 10 commandments are considered, mitzvah is a Hebrew name. Mitzvah is a commandment. Means commandment. Okay? In English meaning. Okay? 10 commandments are considered the most important commandment of Torah. Torah also contains the stories that teaches about the God relationship with the Jewish people. There are 2 parts of the Torah. One part is a written Torah. Another part is the oral Torah. Okay? Our left side, this picture shows a Torah scroll. Torah is a resources for teaching and resources for study. Torah consists of 5 books of Moses written on parchment scroll in ancient form by hand and kept in the ark. Torah means the law, but more accurate revelation, teaching, or instructions. Torah divided into 54 sections, and one portion is read each week. 2 weeks of a year have double portions, so that the entire Torah is read from beginning to the end in a year. Okay, it takes total 1 year to read the total 54 sections of Torah. Okay, sacred text, the Tanukh. A Jewish Bible is referred as Tanukh. Tanukh consists of the Torah and prophet and the writing. 30 sections of Tanukh. Talmud is a collection of ancient Jewish laws which governs the religious and non-religious life of Orthodox Jews. Talmud is the second most important sources of rabbinic Jewish law based on the Mishnah. Mishnah means the oral law. Mishnah, okay? Mishnah complements and interprets the Torah and applies the scriptures to everyday life and everyday observances. Mishnah, every rabbinic teaching on how to live according to the Torah. Okay, Mishnah is oral law. Holy space, holy places, and holy places of worship. Western world was the first place of worship for the Judaism. All Jews pray in that directions. In 70 Common Era, the Roman Empire destroyed Second Temple of Jerusalem. Western world is the last remnant of the world that surround the temple. The place of worship for Judaism is called the synagogue. The Jews' spiritual readers are called the rabbis, unlike the readers in many other faiths and religions. A rabbi is not a priest, and has no special religious status. Synagogue is a place for Judaism. Okay, a synagogue also serves the community center and education center. Rabbi is the Jewish religious and spiritual readers. Rabbi speaks about part of the Torah. The cantor sings. The cantor chants prayers, and cantor reads from the Torah. This map shows the holy places and places of worship. Left map side of map shows the Western world. Right side of the map shows the synagogue of worship. Okay, medieval Judaism by the end of 7th century and into the 8th century, Jews in the Fertile Crescent came down under the Muslim rule. The Persian Abbasid dynasty was known for religious tolerance, and Jews became part of golden society because the Persian Abbasid allowed the Jews to worship their God Yahweh, and allowed the Jews to reconstruct their temples. Okay, this golden age ended in 847 Common Era with the levy of heavier religious tax for non-Muslims and conversion some synagogues into the mosque. Okay, Judaism in Spain, Jews in Spain were given the options of conversion of expulsions, although this was not even applied. Okay, Moses ben Maimon was the greatest figure in Spanish Judaism. Moses ben Maimon was a Spanish philosopher The Maimon was considered the greatest Jewish scholar of Middle Ages. This because Maimon codified the Jewish law into the Talmud. Okay? Muslim Spain began to decline at the beginning of the 13th century. Christian rulers increased as did persecutions and forced conversion for the non-Christians. Therefore, thousands of Jews fled to the Italy, Morocco, Balkans, and Turkey. Judaism in other European nations, although Jews reside all over Europe, Spain, and Babylon, were favorite side. Okay, life in Muslim land was far better than it was in Christian Europe. Okay, crusade. The Christian crusade were instituted the Pope Urban II in 1095. Crusade was the word that was fought by Christians in Palestine against the Muslims from 11th century to 13th century. About 200, Pope Urban II launched this crusade in 1095. They set up widespread attacks on Jews in Europe. Many Jews were killed and others Jews were forced to convert to Christianity. Many Jews fled to the foreign or to Islamic countries. Okay, Judaism and modern world. By the end of 15th century, Jews have been officially expelled or made to feel unwelcome in nearly every European nations. Many turned to Eastern Europe. They became known as Ashkenazi. Okay, Ashkenazi. Many Jews settled in Eastern Europe. That people is referred as Ashkenazi. Protestant Reformation in 16th century were led by Martin Luther. Luther turned against the Jews when they wouldn't convert to Christianity. Counter Reformation of a Catholic Church brought the Inquisition and persecution of Jews. It brought the formation of the ghetto. What is the meaning of a ghetto? Ghetto means the Islamic community. Okay? In 17th century, the Cossack and Ukraine peasant rose in revolt against the Polish nobility. Those Jews who served the nobility became the objects of pogroms. Between 1648 and 1656, about 300,000 Jews to 500,000 Jews were slaughtered, were killed during these pogroms. Okay? Response to modernity. Okay? Sabbatai Javi is a Jews declared the Messiah by his disciples. Javi raised the Jewish hopes all over the world. However, when Javi was imprisoned in Turkey, Javi converted to Islam and Javi crushed the hope of his followers. Moses Mendelssohn is referred as Jewish Socrates. Okay? Moses Mendelssohn is a German Jewish philosopher, Bible translator, who greatly contributed to the efforts of Jews to assimilate to the German bourgeoisie. Okay? He encourages the Jews to embrace the world, modern world. Beir Sem Tov, he founded the modern Hasidic movement of Judaism. Hasidic movement. Hasidic movement requires simple, audible faith instead of scholarly study. The central tenet in his teaching is a direct connection with the divine, which is infused in every human activity and human every working hour. Hasidic is a religious group that arose as a spiritual revival movement. Hasidic is a spiritual revival movement in the territory of Western Ukraine during 18th century and spread rapidly throughout the Eastern Europe. Reformed Judaism. The worshippers use more vernacular than that's Hebrew. Synagogues are called temples. They relax the kosher food laws. What is the kosher food? Hebrew food, according to the Old Testament. Okay, kosher food. They introduce the choirs and organs. Okay, Zionism. Theodor Herzl is considered the founder of Zionist movement. Herzl and others came to believe that Jewish people would never be treated fairly until they had the land of their own territory. Zionism plead their case for the Jewish state. Anti-Semitism and Holocaust. When Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany in 1930s, Hitler changed the nation into the anti-Semitic dictatorship. His leadership caused the Holocaust, in which millions of Jews were taken from their homes and forced into the concentration camps. About 6 million Jews were executed or died of disease or died of starvations. Explanation for Holocaust. German ethnocentralism and racism, German troubles following World War I, Nazi Nazism are the explanation for Holocaust. Okay, the state of Israel in 1947, the United Nations voted to partition Palestine into the two nations, a Jewish state and Arab state. The British left Palestine in 1948 and Israel proclaimed its statehood. As a result, the Palestine Arabs were forced from or fled their homes. Many now live in miserable existence in refugee camps. Okay, this map shows the current Israel physical map. The West Bank and Gaza strips belongs to the Palestinian territory according to the United Nations declarations. However, these two territories decrease step by step due to the invasion of the Israel. Okay, denominations of Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, actual commandment according to the Orthodox Judaism, actual commandment come directly from God. Therefore, Orthodox emphasize living according only to the Torah, the law of Moses, as in interpreted authoritatively by rabbinic traditions. According to the Orthodox, Moses not only received the written law at Sinai, but also received the oral law. Oral law means the correct interpretations by rabbi. Reform Judaism. Reform view many traditional beliefs as outdated and mere superstitions. Therefore, some need to be adapted to more modern mindset. Originally, the Reform Judaism rejected the idea of Zionism, believing that Jews should be at home as the citizens of whatever nations they found themselves in. Okay? Conservative means some commandment doesn't need to be followed. They respect the right of reform. They respect the right of constructionist Jews to interpret Judaism in their own way. Today, there are approximately 40 million Jews in the world today. The Orthodox Jews strive to preserve traditionally Jewish culture and religions. Reform Judaism is popular in the United States and Europe. Reform Judaism stresses universality of traditional Jewish values. Conservative movement is firmly rooted in the rabbinical traditions, but is somewhat more relaxed than Orthodox movement. Reconstructionist Judaism stated that Judaism is a culture as well as religious traditions. Fundamentalists demand complete the acceptance of traditional Jewish law. Okay, Sabbath in Hebrew name Sabur, Sabbath. Okay, the seventh day is reserved for rest and worship. The Saturday, they last the Saturday. Okay, not Sunday. Okay, Passover. Hebrew name is Pesach. Okay, Passover commemorate the Exodus from the Egypt. The Passover is a holiday commemorating the Hebrews' liberations from slavery in Egypt and the passing over of the forces of the God's destructions, or the sparing of firstborn of Israel when Lord struck the land of Egypt on the eve of Exodus, the Feast of Weeks. The Hebrew name Sabur. Okay, Moses receiving 10 Commandments is commemorated as a Feast of Weeks. Okay, in Bible, Sabur marks wheat harvest in the land of Israel. Sabur is a Jewish holiday that occurred on the 6th day of Hebrew months of Sivan. Sabur may fall between May 15 and June 14th. Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is a Jewish New Year. It's referred as a Rosh Hashanah. A Jewish New Year is believed to commemorate the first day of creations. Yom Kippur is a day of atonement. On this day of atonement, prayers of forgiveness are offered. Jews traditionally observe this holiday with about 25 5 hours period of fasting and intensive prayer, often spending most of the day in synagogue services. The feast of the tabernacle, in Hebrew name, is Sukkot. Okay, Sukkot. Wandering tabernacle is used when wandering in the wilderness. Okay, Sukkot is holiday for remembering the wonderness of this in this wilderness. Sukkot commemorate the years that Jews spent in the desert on their way to the promised land, and Sukkot celebrates the way in which the God protected them under difficult desert conditions. This Sukkot festival lasts 8 days from July 15th. Okay. This map shows the model of tabernacle. Tabernacle, tent of meeting, or tent of worship, or tent of congregations. This tabernacle is a small tent which contains the most holy writing of ancient Jews, and which they took with them when they were traveling across the desert. Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a Jewish festival that celebrates, rededicated, restore of the second temple in Jerusalem in 165 before Common Era, at the time of Maccabees revolt against the Persian Seleucid Empire. Hanukkah begins in November or December and lasts for 8 days. Feast of Lights. Hebrew name is Fury. Okay, Feast of Lights celebrate the remembrance of Jewish victory against the Gentile forces. A Feast of Lights is a joyous Jewish festival commemorating the survival of Jews who in the 5th century before Common Era were marked for death for Persian rulers. This story is related in biblical book of Esther. Okay, all the Testament, far and bad, mitzvah is a rite of passage. Means a rite of passage are celebrated for boys and girls who turned at the age of 13. At the age of 13, boys and girls can be mature persons, not children, not little children. Okay? A symbol of Judaism, Star of David, is a shape of King David's shield. The right map represents the Star of David. These symbol Star of David were adopted by Zionists. Okay, menorah is an ancient source of light, one of the oldest symbols of Jewish faiths. Okay, 7 candle holders. Menorah means candle holders. 7 candle holders is a Sabbath, means a Sabbath. 9 candle holders means Hanukkah. Okay, Medusa. The below the picture shows the Medusa. Okay, picture of Medusa. Medusa is a little case containing a tiny scroll. The writing on scroll is from the Bible. Okay, this scroll says that Jewish people should love God and keep. Jewish people should keep these rules. Okay, interesting facts. the Israel flag is rooted in Jewish traditions. The white and black ground symbolize the purity. The symbol on the flag are two stripes, one on the top and on the bottom, and the Star of David's emblem adorning the center. The stripes and blue color inspired by blue dye of talit. What is the talit? The middle picture shows the talit. Talit means a Jewish prayer show when Jews worship to the God. They must wear this talit. Okay, Jews should regard the land of Israel as their homeland, both as a holy land and as a promised land. The land of Israel holds a special place in Jewish religious obligations in encompassing Judaism's most important site, including the remains of the first temple and the second temple. Okay, the impact of ancient Israel, the covenant. A covenant is a formal agreement between Hebrew and God, Yahweh. Hebrews worship the God and only God, and in turn they would be God's chosen people and given Canaan as a promised land. Spiritual ideas profoundly influenced Western culture, morality, ethics, and conduct. Three of the world's most dominant religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all derive from the root from this spiritual belief of ancient Israelite. Judaism today, one of the primary tasks for 21st century Jews is attempting to interpret the Holocaust. Judaism has always sought to understand God through history and to interpret the Exodus experience. Judaism struggles with the issues of its place in predominantly Gentile society. Okay, this slide shows the Western world, the second temple, the Western world or Wailing world located in the old city of Jerusalem. All that remains, they are all remains of the second temple, destructed by the Roman Empire in 70 Common Era. Okay. Next, I will teach you the Christianity. Okay. Thank you. See you next time.